One Percenter Podcast with Sam Bakhtiar, bringing you the 1% knowledge to help you reach your full potential. Learn what it takes to rise above the 99% and become a 1%er.
Dr. Sinclair, pleasure having you. You know, we're going through some crazy times right now. And as someone who knows aging, knows how the body works, what do you think about all this craziness, the COVID-19, and are we doing all the right things to battle this thing?
Well, Phil, thank you for having me. It's great to finally be on in person. Yeah, it is crazy times that we've never had anything like this in our lifetime. You have to go all the way back to world ever go back to normal. I'm optimistic that within a couple of years the stock market will be booming and we'll all be just remembering this crazy time of life. Are we doing all the right things? I think the advice is correct that we should not be going out yet, though hopefully in about 4 to 6 weeks we'll be done. But I think most people are realizing this is a very different time. We have to listen to what the local people are telling us, the governors of our states. If there's one thing that was done badly, it was at the leadership level. We had testing kits that weren't working well for 2 months, which really put us behind the 8 ball. And now we're seeing a lot of deaths coming now. We're going up faster than any other country, certainly total numbers. But generally, I think most people understand that staying away from each other and washing hands if you come anywhere close to something public is the right thing to do. I'm sure not everybody's doing that because we're still seeing the number of cases go up. I think there's a number of people who I see on social media who say, if I say stay home, some people will write back, yeah, make me. And it's that attitude that's causing this to not decline as fast as it can. And we need it to come down quickly because we all have to get back to work.
So how long do you think we have until, in your estimation, we can have a vaccine for these?
Oh, the vaccine. Well, so the usual stance of the CDC and others is 18 months now, 17 months. There are some possibilities that we'll have a vaccine sooner, maybe even by the end of this year. The problem that we face, though, is even if it shows real great promise in some people, you can't give it to 1 billion or more people without really rigorous testing. If it comes back and it turns out it makes people worse, or even 1% of people worse, and it's just not worth it. So it's this safety testing that takes 4 to 6 months in addition to it actually being shown to work.
Now, I know, a lot of people are talking about, hydrochloroquine, the Z-Pack and all that kind of stuff. And, I know my theory on that is this, and I made a little video about it, and yesterday I talked about, look, if it's showing progress on some people, and if, I'm not saying like everybody should take it if they have slight symptoms, but if you have all the symptoms and you're really declining on your deathbed, what are the choices? If I was on my deathbed and I had a choice between death and taking, hydrochloroquine, I think I would take the hydrochloroquine. What is your stance on that?
Oh, yeah, it's one of these strange cases where there have been reports since February of it looking promising out of China, but people have gone back and forth. We have reports where it didn't do anything, and a new one that came out a few days ago that said that it even was toxic in some people, and they found that a very high dose created heart arrhythmias. And so what that actually tells us is that not everybody can use it. You have to be careful with the heart. The super high dose, which was 600 milligrams twice a day, I believe it was, but check on that. Not everybody can take it, but I think for healthy people who are not in a critical state and being monitored, it's fairly low risk, not proven yet. But proving things, as you know, is really hard because you have to do placebo controls. And when it's an emergency, it's very hard to tell people that they might not be getting the drug. They're just getting injections of something else. That's hard. And that's why I don't think we have this real strong proof about it. I'm hopeful that actually remdesivir, which is Gilead's drug, is going to be shown to work. There was a study last week that came out that said it does look promising. It's not a golden bullet. Maybe I shouldn't say bullet. It's not the hope that we were thinking, because still a few people died on the drug, but it does seem to alleviate symptoms in a few people.
I also think that one of the best things to do is, right now, the most promising is the blood transfusion. Learning who people who had it already, to have the antibodies to it, so they can get the antibodies and give it to someone else. To me, that makes the most sense, doesn't it?
Right. That works. That's 1960s technology. The problem is that just to get enough of those people who are clearly virus-free and making a lot of antibody, and to get them to donate blood and then test it and give it. And you only get one patient per donor if it's a severe case, and maybe 50 if it's prophylactic. So it's a matter of just finding the people and the money to do it. And hospitals already have enough to do. So I think if we had more time and money, that would be the solution.
Well, all about testing. It took you 3 years to test something and prove Pfizer wrong. Or thing. I want to talk to you about your book. Your book is fascinating. I'm such a huge fan of your book, your work, and just anti-aging in general. I've been a huge fan of human performance. As a former bodybuilder and athlete, and now I find myself being 46 years old and having an 8-month-old baby at home. And now my whole the world has changed. Now I'm looking at, okay, maybe I don't want the 20-inch arms anymore. Maybe I want to live 30% longer. And I learned that everything that I did in bodybuilding was exactly what you do opposite of, if you want to live longer. In bodybuilding, they told me, oh, you need to eat every 2.5 hours. You need to, have a calorie surplus. You need to do this, and that. And when I'm reading your book and studying the material and learning everything, it's like, wow, wait a second. I need to, take in less calories. I need to maybe eat once a day and all that. Can you elaborate, on first of all, why do we age?
Good question. So what I put forth in the book is a brand new concept and some evidence to back it up. Now, clearly, a lot of things go wrong in our bodies. Heart, head, livers, all these do get older, and they break down in different ways, and we call these different diseases, cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's. But the question is, do they all have an underlying cause? And I believe they do. And I put forward the idea that our bodies are losing information as we get older. And what do I mean by that information? Well, we know about the genetic information in the DNA, but there's another type of information that's just as important for life and health, and that's called the epigenetic information, and that controls which genes in our DNA switched on and off. And you can think of it as the DNA is the computer, and the epigenome is the software. And over time, it gets corrupted, and computers from the 1990s don't work so well, and the software slows down. But you can reboot the system and get it to work again. And that's what we've discovered. And I talk about it in the book, that we've got ways to turn back the clock and get that epigenomic information in the same way that we can reboot a computer and get everything working nicely again.
Wow. So I want to know, and I know we can get so technical on this, I want to know, how do we, stop aging? And I know in some cases we can reverse aging.
Yeah, we can. 10 years ago, if I'd said we can reverse aging, people would have said that's impossible and thrown me out of the lecture theater. But now it's okay. Now that we've shown, and of course, some of my colleagues have done this too, it's not just me. We've shown that, first of all, there's a clock in our bodies that you can read. I could take your blood today and go back to my lab and measure little chemical changes called methyls on the DNA. And I could say, well, you're actually 36. You look really young, actually. So you probably are younger than most people your own age. Or you might be older, heaven forbid. But half the people will be above, half will be below. And what that's telling us is that you're losing information. Now, some of us in the lab have figured out ways to scrub those chemicals off, like you would brush your teeth and get the plaque off. And then the DNA gets red like it was young again. And now cells work like they used to. And we have a paper, a scientific publication that you can find online We've posted it. The website is called BioRxiv, BIORXIV. And we hope that it'll come out in a prestigious journal in the next few months. Anyway, what we did was we took mice. Mice are easier to work with than humans, of course. So we took old mice, and they went blind because they were old. Or we could induce in their eyes the disease glaucoma, which you'll know is pressure in the eye that disrupts the retina. And in both those cases, we could rejuvenate the eyeball and get the retina at the back of the eye to work again. And those old mice could see again like they were young. And we measured the age of the eye, the nerves at the eye, and they literally were younger based on this clock that I was describing to you. So what does that mean? It means for the first time, we can apparently safely reboot the system and get very complex tissues and organs to work again like they did when we were teenagers.
Wow. Wow. Now, that's been done in any humans at any capacity?
Very little. So it'll be probably another 2 years before that technology that we used, which is a gene therapy. It requires an injection in the eye. That'll be in humans in 2 years if all goes well. So we've raised the money, the capital to do that. But there's a lot of safety studies before you go into a person with a gene therapy. Although I will tell you that we're not using anything totally new. There are not vaccines, but gene therapies in the eye already to correct genetic defects. So it's not as science fiction as you might think. Has it been done in people? Well, there's been one study where people were treated with a cocktail of metformin, the diabetes drug, and growth hormone, and what was the third? Oh, DAA, which some of our listeners here today may recognize as hormone that goes down with age. And they found by measuring the clock.
DAA or DHEA?
DHEA.
Yeah, okay, got it, okay. I'm familiar with that.
Yeah. And they could get the clock to go back by a couple of years, which, is on the borderline of, yeah, show me again, I want better evidence. And there were only 9 people. So I would say it's early days. It's like the Wright brothers, and maybe they've skipped over a sand dune, but show me you can fly for an hour and I believe you. That's where we're at.
So everything that I've studied and I'm learning, from you and just researching anti-aging and reversing the aging process and just living a better life points out to me, as far as dietary wise and everything, is that one, we want to reduce inflammation as much as possible. And we also want to keep glucose levels in control. We want to make sure that, we don't have spikes in insulin levels and glucose levels and everything else like that. Am I on the right path? I mean, without getting, too crazy into the science of it, but this is how I've simplified it for myself. And like everything, like here's a metformin, I'm taking that. Resveratrol, I'm on that. I'm also taking, vitamin D3.
Great.
And turmeric. I'm taking turmeric. And so I'm on a right path. Am I generalizing it correctly, or is there more?
Well, we're always learning more. What we've learned is that this clock is controlled by what are called parts of the survival circuit. And in my book, you've read it, you'll know all about how this survival circuit works. Now, what happens in the survival circuit is that it's built to make us survive insults, but over time, if it's not working optimally, it actually doesn't fully reset, and this clock and the plaque on your teeth accumulate. There are certain protectors in our body called sirtuins, which we've worked on for now 25 years. And these sirtuins, you can activate them in the same way that exercise and being hungry will turn them on. And we can talk about how to do that optimally. But you can also take, as you're doing, the supplements. So we've shown in mice, and others have shown in humans, that resveratrol, the second one you showed, we discovered that in 2003, that it activates one of the sirtuins. And we've given it to mice, and they've been much healthier on a high-fat diet. We see that they're protected against a whole range of different diseases, including cancer, by the way. And there's been probably 20 clinical studies. Not all of them have shown benefits. The early studies actually were flawed because they were giving resveratrol without mixing it in any food. And resveratrol is about as soluble as a crushed up brick. And so this morning I had my resveratrol in a bowl of yogurt. I point that down. So I mix it with a little bit of yogurt, not much because I don't like to eat breakfast to any extent. And then, so what we've shown is that those sirtuins, they protect the body, they repair DNA, they fight free radicals, they help with the ends of chromosomes, the telomeres, all of these known, what we call hallmarks of aging. There are about 8 of them. I've mentioned just a few. These sirtuins protect against those changes, as well as the clock advancing. So I don't know for sure if I'm going to live longer because of what I do. But I do know, first of all, that if I don't do anything, it's going to be brutal. Men in my family die usually in their 70s from heart disease or diabetes. Second of all, what I'm doing is incredibly safe. There's been no report in millions of people that there's been any downside. So the worst I can do is lose some money. And then the third is that the upside is huge, that I could be much healthier into my 80s and 90s and maybe beyond that. We'll see. And my father is doing the same as me. And
I was going to say that. Your dad is doing amazing.
So he's a guinea pig by voluntary, right? He's a scientist, so he makes his own decisions. I'm not forcing him to do anything, but he's a wonderful example of someone who took life by the horns and went through his 70s. Now he's in his 80s, and just as healthy as I am. Actually, he's stronger than I am, and I'm just turned 50. That's
awesome. Now I know, you are a proponent of going being hungry, because that's sends that signal to your body, to I don't know exact word I'm looking for. What's the word I'm looking for here?
Hormesis.
Yes. See that signal, hormesis, to your body, for it to kind of repair itself and get rid, be better and repair itself. So so I started doing that, and everybody always says, man, there's no way you becoming a bodybuilder, going from 6 to 8 meals a day, going to eat. How can you do that? And it's not that bad. Actually, I love it, because I feel that every time I eat, I get a little lethargic. I slow down. And so for me during the day, I love the fact that I can be so sharp. My mind is sharp. I can run around. I can do things. I don't have to stop to eat 4 times a day. And then at night, I have a sensible meal. I don't have to restrict what I have a sensible meal, and I sleep like a baby. And I'm not even hungry. And I thought I was going to be hungry. Why is that? Well, your body gets used to it. Your brain gets used to it. The first couple of weeks, your brain has a habit. And it's hard to break a habit. I'm not going to go without my coffee in the morning. It just feels good. But do I need it? Not really. And it's the same with meals. I'm not talking about malnutrition or starvation. Gosh, no. But I'm eating the same number of calories I would, but compacted into an hour, and maybe a little lunch. But do I need breakfast? Absolutely not. I don't need it. I'm not hungry. At first when you start, like you said, you do feel like most people do. Oh, I could do with a little snack, or I wish I could eat something. Want to sit down with my kids or with my wife, which you can do. But what I do instead is I switch it out for either hot water, tea, a coffee, because half of the battle is just something to put in your mouth, right? Yeah. Just feels good. But after 2 weeks, give it 2 weeks. Anyone who wants to try this, don't go for 3 days without food. You won't be able to do it. I can't do it. Not at first. But if you want to try, figure out which is the meal that you don't enjoy as much as the other. For me, dinner is social, it's enjoyable, it's hearty. Can't skip dinner. I'll feel rotten. But breakfast, hey, I'm busy, cup of coffee, I'm good. I know from measuring my blood sugar from one of these patches you can get, my blood sugar is fine. I'm not hypoglycemic. Some people are, so we're all different. So you have to do what works for you. But skipping at least 1 meal a day is extremely healthy. And even if you can skip 2, even every other day, super healthy. So why is that? You're inducing hormesis. And hormesis
think about it this way. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, makes you live longer. And the reason is that our bodies never evolved to be sitting in a chair eating 3 meals plus snacks. Our life was running, being hungry, well, barely ever sitting down. You might have a sleep, but most of all it was, hey, where's our next week, right? Before agriculture. And our bodies are perfected for that kind of lifestyle. And when we're hungry, all of the wonderful defenses, like the sirtuins that I work on, they're revved up, they're ready to go, they fight against diseases and aging. And we know that if you either make a yeast cell, a little microorganism that makes bread, all the way up to a dog and even humans, you get remarkable health benefits. Now, but before I end, I want to tell you, it's not that easy. You do want to perfect this in a way that allows you to still do bodybuilding. Now, what I've found, and I'm working out now for about an hour, 3 or 4 times a week. I have rest days, of course.
So you're not doing the 4 hours in one day with your son anymore?
No, I switched that up now that I'm at home. I have a virtual trainer. My son is still doing this. But what I found is it's actually really working. My t-shirts aren't fitting it well very more anymore. What's worked is that, of course, more frequency than once a week is always better. But my eating patterns are matched to my workout. So if I'm going to work out during the day, or I have worked out, I'll eat my meat that day. But on the other days, I'll try to eat mostly plants and plant-based foods. But like you, I still try to skip a breakfast and have a really small lunch on every day.
Now, I know that, here's a question I have for you. So, things like metformin, it lowers your blood glucose levels. To me, knowing what I know, that usually equates to hunger. So when I thought I'd take metformin, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get more hungry. But it did the opposite. I'm actually less hungry. Why is that?
Well, I'm not exactly sure, but it's well known, and I've experienced the same. Now, I could give you a theory why it does that. Metformin also is acting on your stomach walls. For a lot of people, actually, they feel so, what do you call it, disrupted in their ingestion, in digestive system, that they stop taking it. But you do eventually get used to it. Again, give it a week or 2. So metformin can actually change the chemistry of cells. It revs up their metabolism, but it also can lead to something called lactic acidosis, which is a little too much of that. And your body starts producing like lactic acid, right? When you're exercising or running a marathon. And I think that could be what's happening to our stomachs when we eat metformin initially, before we get used to it, or if we don't take it with a bit of food like milk to protect the lining of the stomach. I think that's what's going on, but I actually really like it. If I take it with a bit of food, then I'm not hungry for many, many hours. And I've lost weight. It's actually a great weight loss pill as well. But like you said, it does reduce your blood sugar, but not below normal levels. It'll stop unless you take a mega dose. But the other good thing to know about blood sugar is that if you're eating big meals during the day, your blood sugar is doing this. Mm-hmm. And I've measured it. It's true for me as well. Now, if we're having small meals or we're fasting, what happens is your blood sugar goes down, but your liver will compensate. Your liver makes sugar called gluconeogenesis. And I find that I have a beautiful, stable glucose throughout the day. Whereas if I'm eating, it's going up, crash below, up, crash below. And that's where you get this hunger and I'm feeling full and distracted. I can't think. It's wonderful not being subject to the fridge, the whims of having to go and get the food out of the fridge. And like you say, you can just power through the day.
I'm loving it. I'm loving my new lifestyle. Now, you keep pointing to is there a patch that you can get to get your blood? You don't have to prick yourself? Right.
This is a 2-week patch. It's a little plastic disc. The one that I use is called Libre Link.
How you spell that?
Libre Link. The company is Abbott, Abbot. And there are a couple on the market. at least 2. And it's Bluetooth, so let's
Are
see if I
you
can.
kidding me? That is pretty cool.
Yeah, and so
Wow.
just do that, and it go through your clothes. You can see this is somebody putting it on,
Wow. And it measures your
and
blood glucose.
it does. And you scan it, and you get
Wow.
graphs throughout the day.
Wow. I got it. I'm getting that app as soon as this is done. I'm ordering that.
And yeah, you can see what happens during the day. Because I've been in hiding, I haven't done this for a while. So, but I could go back to my graphs and see, oh, good, gosh, I ate sushi. My body doesn't like the white rice, and the glucose went way up, and I had a crash. And whenever I'm hungry, I can see that it's because I had this big spike. Maybe I ate something with sugar in it, and it came back down, and now I'm hungry again. So I'm trying to avoid anything with raw sugar or even really processed grains, and then I don't get that crash.
Wow. Back in my bodybuilding days, I had, I was always testing my blood and, see if I'm in ketosis and, what my blood sugar level needs to be for me to be in ketosis. I had to prick my finger. Now I don't have to do that. Wow. Wow. Thank you, doc. That's awesome.
Yeah, you'll need a doctor to prescribe it. That's all. And so if you have friends who are doctors, they usually do it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Would love that. Now, let's talk about something that this interview is really for me. I'm a type of person who I need to exercise every day, not just for my body, for my mind. It used to be because I wanted to, have a 20-inch bicep and I need to get on stage and look a certain way. But now it's like I feel like I'm foggy if I don't move first thing in the morning. So part of my routine is, get up in the morning and exercise, for an hour and a half every day, and nothing crazy anymore. I don't lift heavy weights or anything like that, but I walk a little bit and I do a little bit of weight training. But is it okay for me to take metformin and exercise every day, or you don't recommend that?
Well, we don't know. That's the truth. That what we do know from a couple of studies in people is that if you're elderly and you take metformin and you're asked to do some bicep curls, then and I think they did the legs as well, then they measured the circumference of the muscle. And those that took metformin, it wasn't everybody, but some in general were slightly less built than without metformin. But then again, the graphs, if you look at them, I don't think anybody reads papers anymore. But if you do, you'll see that the curves overlap, or the graphs overlap. So there are still people who took metformin who were just as good as the others, but the trend was down. And it was slightly significant based on statistics. But when you read it, you find out that the people that took metformin had better muscle quality. They had equal strength. Their muscles had less inflammation. They recovered better, I believe, but definitely less inflammation. So what does that actually tell you? Oh, a third paper that I read said this, that if you take metformin, your body or your mind tells you to stop more sooner. So putting all that together, here's what I think. It doesn't make a big difference. I know the internet blew up about this because people freaked out that it might stop them. It doesn't make a big difference. It's a few percent. And if you just do your workout and don't give up, and don't let metformin tell you to give up, then you'll be fine. So that's what I do. I occasionally, if I have a big workout, I'll skip metformin. I don't think if I skip it one day, it's going to matter. But overall, I think it's really not worth worrying about here. But if you are a professional bodybuilder, like you were, I would recommend just skipping metformin on days that you're recovering.
Got it.
Yeah, it gets tricky, right? If every day you're working out. So I don't have a really good solution other than just keep doing what you're doing, and it's not going to make a big difference.
Got it. And when it comes to metformin, do you recommend the extended release metformin or the regular metformin that acts right away?
Yeah, I don't recommend anything because I'm just a PhD.
No, for yourself. For
yeah. I have both. Here, I'll admit to you, it's actually hard to get metformin. I don't have diabetes. I probably will have diabetes, but I'm not there yet. My father is borderline. doctors don't prescribe metformin unless you cross a certain threshold of HbA1c and glucose levels. So I can't easily get it. So I travel a lot, and there are lots of countries in the world that do sell it over the counter. It's on the World Health Organization's list of essential medicines for humanity. And so I bring it home with me. That's where I get it. Now, there are doctors that do prescribe it. I know that there are hundreds of people that have contacted me saying they could get it, mostly because they buy a copy of my book, give it to their doctor and say, read this. And then they understand that it's potential longevity drug. There's a lot of evidence, actually, that people who take it are protected against heart disease, cancer, and Alzheimer's, frailty. So even that alone is a good reason to take it, not to mention probably prevents the type 2 diabetes anyway. So I think it's a really good thing. And I take it probably 3 or 4 times a week at this point.
You know, my cardiologist, he's a big fan of yours, but I asked him, I'm like, hey man, well, prescribe me for some metformin. He goes, I can't do that, but I support you. And I support, Dr. Sinclair, because I'm a big fan of his, and I love his research, and everything else like that. So you're right on with that. So, I want to simplify this for, obviously the science is crazy, and I come from I got my pre-medicine degree and nutrition degree, and I'm a doctor of chiropractic. So, I know some of the science, but the way you go, how deep it is in this book, is just fascinating. But I want to simplify it for our viewers, So if somebody wants to, live better, live longer, what are, some exercise tips, something they can do, as far as exercise is concerned. I know, we would talk about that. What are some diet tips, and what are some supplementation tips?
Okay. Well, so there's a lot of information in the book. Part 2 is about diet and exercise and supplements. But you can also, if you get the book, you can skip to page 302. There's a whole bit on that about what I do and what my father does. So that's the cheat sheet at the back. 302 to 304, you'll see. I list out what I've been doing for many years now. So what are the things to do? Well, you want to do, if you're young enough, high intensity exercise, high intensity interval training. Really, basically, you just want to run out of your breath for at least 5, hopefully 15 minutes. Being hypoxic, low oxygen, is really beneficial, and that activates the sirtuins really effectively. You also want to be lifting weights. You want to be bulked up. My father isn't a massively built guy. He's 80, but he's really strong, and lifting weights has done that for him. And he's done that for about 20 years now. So the gym is great, but also don't forget to do the flexibility. I often talk about hip hinge exercises. So deadlifts and this kind of thing, squats. These are really important as you get older, because we sit way too much, and particularly the hip muscles, the piriformis muscle that goes through your hip, it basically atrophies. It's very hard to get it back if you don't get up and move and give it a workout. I actually think that most of the developed world, because we're sitting all day, has atrophied in that part of the body, and it's really dangerous as you get older. And that's why every 19 minutes somebody falls over in the US and dies from a fall and broken bone.
Wow.
It's just really, really a big problem. So that's the easy way to do that. We've talked about the intermittent fasting. Supplements, again, on page 304, there's a laundry list of things that I do and explaining why I do them. The one that we haven't talked about, well, let me talk about resveratrol. So resveratrol, I put in my yogurt. I have a little spoon of resveratrol in the morning with yogurt. I just take a teaspoon. It's a powder. Is that a pill?
That's a pill. Yeah. And 2 pills have 605 milligrams of resveratrol.
Yeah, that's about what I take in a teaspoon. But it looks like brick dust. It should be white or gray. If it's brown, throw it away. It shouldn't be brown. It's sensitive to light, so keep it in the dark. I saw that's a dark bottle. But mix it with something if you can, because just eating it as a dry powder, it's mostly going to come straight out your other end. So there's that. So resveratrol will activate these sirtuins we showed. You mentioned that I fought Pfizer scientists. That was the battle. Does resveratrol really activate the SIRT1 enzyme? And we showed it does. So that's all good. It comes from red wine, right? And so there's the idea that maybe drinking red wine every day for 30 years is beneficial, partly because of resveratrol. The other thing that I take that I think is probably just as important is an NAD booster. So NAD, you should definitely read my book about this.
You know, Doc, hold your thought. I got to go. I bought some NAD. I want you to take a look at it. Give me 30 seconds. See, I'm a good student. Okay. So NAD booster. I know there's a few different types. I want to make sure I get the right type.
Sam, can you hold it up to the camera?
Yes.
What is it?
This is liposomal.
Oh, that says glutathione.
Oh no! Wait a second. Oh no! Yeah, I grabbed the wrong one. Okay, I'm writing this down. Okay, sorry.
Okay. Well, so you can buy NAD precursors, they're called, and these are molecules that your body will absorb and turn into NAD. So we've spent in my lab at Harvard Medical School the last 15 years studying this molecule NAD. And what it is, it's an essential chemical in the body. And the sirtuins use it to tell whether you're in the fight or flight mode or you're just relaxing. Are you under adversity? So when you exercise or you're hungry, your NAD levels will go up. It's also true during the day, sleep-wake cycles. If you don't have good NAD levels going up and down, you won't sleep well either. And so often when people try what I'm doing, they sleep better as well. I don't know, have you found that?
Yes, yeah. For sure, sleep better.
Good.
And I gauge my sleep by the amount of dreams. How much am I dreaming?
Yeah, that REM sleep is actually, it hasn't been studied in a placebo-controlled way, which is what we scientists insist on. But so many people, including myself, have gotten our dreams back again. You know, it's wonderful. Most of them are good dreams. Anyway, so the resveratrol we covered. NMN is what I take, which is not to be confused with M&Ms, the chocolates. Then please don't eat too much of those. Not live longer. And so NMN stands for nicotinamide mononucleotide. You'll find my name all over the internet, unfortunately, people trying to use my name and my image to sell their products. I have nothing to do with those companies, but I'm freely telling people what I do. I think I have a public service to do that. I take about 1 gram of that a day. Now, NMN's a bit expensive, so most people take half a gram. I, as a professor at Harvard Medical School, have to do clinical trials, right? I can't just sell something and promise that it's going to do something. So for the last 7 years, I've been working on this, and we've just finished phase 1 clinical trials, which means we've shown that it looks safe in people. And hopefully this year, and certainly next, when we get back to life as usual, I'll be able to tell you more about how it's working in people. And we're going to be treating diseases. There's a particular disease called Friedreich's ataxia, or FA, which is a defect in mitochondria, the energy producing parts of the body. I'm sure you know, Sam. And we're hoping to help those patients. But we're also going to learn about normal people. We're going to do a study at Harvard on older people and see if they get the same benefits as the mice. So when we gave NMN to the mice, they could run further. They had better blood flow in their muscle, in their brain. It was as though they were exercising. So we think of these NAD boosters as exercise mimetics. They mimic the benefits of exercise. But that doesn't mean you can sit on your butt and just pop pills. Because when we exercised those mice and gave them NMN in their drinking water, they were the ones that ran really far. They ran twice as far as they would have normally. And we could do that to old mice as well. The 20-month-old mice, which is like a 60, 65-year-old human, they went back to being like a 30-year-old equivalent and just kept running and running. In fact, as I wrote in the book, they ran so far, the machine broke, the little treadmill.
Because they only go to three kilometers, right?
Yeah, the software actually wasn't written for a mouse to run further than 2 kilometers. And so we had to rewrite that. But it was really good evidence that we were onto something really interesting here.
Wow. You know, so yeah, I'm missing the NMN. I have plenty of M&Ms in the kitchen, thanks to my wife. But the NMN, I've definitely got to do. And I know you're a big fan of, cryotherapy. Actually being cold. Because that's another way for you to put your body in a good stress.
Right. So hormesis can be done in many ways. If it doesn't create lasting damage to your body, you'll come out of the other side stronger. Okay?
Yeah.
So that you can do it with temperature as well. Now, there hasn't been perfect controlled experiments about whether this really will make you live longer, right? That will take a long time. But I've done the research in my lab and I've looked at other scientists, and there's a lot of evidence that cold shock and sauna provide health benefits. And I love doing it anyway, so what's the harm? So the cold shock is either having a cold shower or dunking into a cold bath, sometimes with ice in it. I don't like that one as much. I tend to just go into a cold pool at the gym, which is about 4 degrees Celsius. It's enough to make you clench, but you get used to it. I do that only I go underwater, I dunk my head. I'm in there for maybe a minute or two. I'm not going to do an Iceman Hoff kind of thing and sit in there for too long. I think that's enough. The sauna, actually, I really like, and there's a lot of good studies out of the Nordic countries. Norway in particular and Finland have studies where they show that people who go to the sauna or in their houses have saunas tend to live longer, and they have much better cardiovascular health. And so I think that's wonderful. It's after a workout, I really like just sweating it out. I feel great afterwards. After that ice bath, I come out feeling invigorated. Now, just a word of caution. There is a study that says if you shock your body with cold after an intense bodybuilding workout, it can reduce the benefits. And I'm still trying to figure out exactly what that means. But because the weights and the cold bath are in the same facility, it's not like I can just go home and come back another day. So I do it all on the same day. But that's all I can say, that I'm still doing it until I'm totally convinced that it's not worth doing.
I know with your son, a lot of you guys went to the gym, you went to sauna, steam room, jacuzzi, and then jump in a pool. And I'm fortunate enough to have all of that in the house. I have all of that in the house. So I'm already planning. Now, when it comes to getting the best benefits, do you think that it's best to go from a very hot, say, for example, a very hot location, sauna, jacuzzi, to a cold pool, or they're just beneficial separately? One day I can just do sauna, one day I can do pool.
Yeah, nobody knows that. We know that the sirtuins are turned on by cold, and we know that there are benefits with heat. Nobody that I know of has done what you're asking, which is test one to the other. But theoretically, it makes sense that the bigger the shock, the better. So that's what I do. I go from sauna to steam room to cold, then into a hot tub. And I think that's most likely to give me the benefits, because you want to get your body out of its state of complacency. The modern world around us is built so that we don't feel any discomfort. The chairs are comfy, the lounges are comfy. We get in cars, even our luggage has wheels now. Right? Can life get any easier? Seriously, we never have to go hungry usually. And so our bodies are like, yeah, times are good. We don't need to fight back. But over decades, you end up with a body that starts falling apart, getting diseases, and is shorter lived than if you trick the body into thinking the times were tough.
Well, Dr. Sinclair, man, I can literally be here for a couple of days asking you questions because I'm geeking out on this stuff. I love this stuff. I'm always looking for ways to, better human performance, reverse aging, and my whole life has been about building muscle and getting better performance. And now that I'm getting older, it's all about anti-aging. And I really want to be mindful of your time. I know you have so many things to do. You have other appointments after this. We'll get you back on the show. But before we do that, I want to ask you, where can people find out more about you? I know that you have, have a lab that tests blood, and you can kind of tell how old somebody is, actually measuring their blood. I want to know that. I'm going to do that. Matter of fact, today, I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to ask for that, the Abbott Liver Link, and I'm going to get my NAD booster. and then I'm going to get my blood, my blood done. So if you don't mind telling people where to find you, where's that lab, and we'll really appreciate it, because this is really, like I said, this interview is for me, and everybody else just gets to listen to it.
Sam, that's great. So the lab that does the testing, it's a company, and I'm an early investor in that, a small-time investor. I need to disclose that. It's called Inside Tracker, one word. So you can go to the website, insidetracker.com, and what you get is a blood test. You can either go to a Quest or a LabCorp, or they can come to your kitchen, to your bedroom, and take blood for you. I do it that way. It's easier. And then what you do is you take those tests as often as you want. I do it every 4 or 5 months. And I've got 11 years of data graphed of how 35 different parameters in my body are changing as I get older. And if I go on a diet or I change my lifestyle, I can see things changing and optimize myself for my own body, which is something you cannot do easily with a doctor, right? So I've found that very helpful. I have a lot of information that I gather pretty much every day. So I'm very active on social media. You can find me Instagram and Twitter. The really big one that I'm putting a lot of effort into, including research about COVID-19, is my newsletter. So every 10 days now, I'm putting out an extensive newsletter that people are loving. Oh, there must be 30, 40,000 people who get this newsletter now. And it's available.
Is that the Lifespan community?
Yes.
Yes, I'm on it. I love it.
Yeah, we call it the Lifespan Insiders. Okay. And you can sign up at the website called lifespanbook.com, lifespanbook.com. Yeah. And there's lots of Q&A in there and previous blogs. And it's a wealth of information for health. I hope people check it out.
Well, Dr. Sinclair, I really appreciate your time. I'm going to be in close contact with you personally, and just pick your brain and know more about, how to reverse aging, just live a better life. And I appreciate your time, and I want to be, mindful of your time. Thank you so much for being on the show, and I can't wait to have you back again.
Sounds good, Sam. Thanks for having me on. I've really enjoyed it.
Hey guys, if you liked today's episode, do me a huge favor. Go ahead and leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel, leave me a review, and tag a few friends that you think can benefit from what we shared today. Really appreciate it. God bless.